on, Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Mine is not.
Good.
There's a commercial like that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, you're here, huh? Boy, what a night, what an evening. Eric Els is here. We're so blessed. You're beautiful, baby. You're beautiful. I remember Bobby Schwinger would come, and we call him Buster. You remember old Buster? I miss him. I miss him. I miss that man.
You know what I'm afraid of?
And Jack Oden,
Somebody's gonna pop again.
first one on the list.
I remember Jack.
You ready to call the roll?
Yes, sir.
You got our names right?
I do.
Okay.
Mayor Bain.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Best.
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Here.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Here.
Please stand for invocation if you want to. I say this prayer tonight for all the people that are in harm's way right now and need our help. We have a container. I'd say this prayer, but it's a little bit of an announcement to help out the people in the Keys at the rec center. I ask the Lord to open your hearts and help fill that container for the people who need it in distress at the Key West, from Big Pine Key to Ramrod Key, and hope that tonight that the Lord will find it best to be cordial and find the right decisions the right way. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How was that, Bob?
I think you outperformed yourself.
That's because the Lord is
You do
looking out
great.
for me.
Somebody looked after
The Lord is looking out for
you.
me.
Well, you did good.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Mayor.
We go to Yard of the Month. They're not here tonight.
Actually, Mayor, if I might, just
The city attorney has something to say.
a small order of business. As you know, item 10.
A.
10A, thank you, was an item deferred to a date certain. It involved the application for vacating of a certain alley on 25 Deer Run. The applicant emailed early this afternoon requesting a further deferral to October 9th, seeking an opportunity to reach out to his neighbors further and look at and address their concerns. So they've asked for a deferral again to October 9th for your consideration.
Okay.
It's supported by the administration.
Okay. Any comments on that? It's okay to defer? We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yard of the Month, 2017. I understand they couldn't make it tonight. Is that correct, City Clerk?
Yes. Yes, sir.
It is? Sure?
Very
Very good.
certain.
Good answer. All right, we go to 5A. Oh, no. Open forum. I'm sorry. I almost skipped the most important part of the meeting.
Exactly right. Yeah.
We have, how do you Salvador Andrew, would you like to come up and speak?
We kind of solved it already with Maria and
Mara.
Mata?
Yeah, and Tom.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay,
I took them to speak to Tom.
okay. So you don't need to talk?
it was just that he's requesting to see if the city could do something or how they could do it.
You should come to the podium if you're going to say, even
No,
if you're deferring it,
Tom,
you should.
Tom already handled it for
Yeah,
them.
but she's talking. The people have to hear what she has to say.
Trying to talk for my dad because he doesn't speak very well English. Is this on?
I don't know. He does all right with me.
Yeah. Okay, and he's just requesting to see if the city could help him because he lives on the corner of Hunting Lodge and Curtis Parkway, and all the cars are going into his yard every time they turn. Everybody's turning extremely quick. They're damaging all his trees,
Okay,
and there's been several accidents there already, and he's a little bit worried.
okay. So Tom took care of it, and, okay.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you.
Tomorrow I'll make a call
Thank you.
to Public Works.
I think this is Martha Kelly. Blast from the past.
Next, Martha.
Thank you. Can I? Question at some point.
It's what?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Martha Kelly, One Deer Run.
Attorney, a question?
Yeah.
We'll let.
Yeah.
What if I just put it down like that?
That's fine, you're
Is that
fine.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. This addresses the alley abandonment because I have to leave town and will not be here for the next meeting. Each of you was elected to do what is best for Miami Springs, its neighborhoods, and their neighbors. Closing vital alley access is not in the best interest of the city, its neighborhoods, or the residents of those neighborhoods. It is only in the selfish interest of the petitioners. Two families, one of which does not own the adjacent property in question, which is a vacant interior lot in the middle of our neighborhood. These two neighbors wish to close off our public alley, inconveniencing not only all of the other neighborhood residents, but also garbage collection and emergency vehicles. In a fire or medical emergency, this alley closure could endanger lives by curtailing the fastest open access, should it be necessary, via the alley to these residences. Mere seconds are most important where lives are concerned. Personally, the closure of this alley would benefit me by curtailing traffic by my home. However, I'm not looking at this situation in a selfish manner, as others might be. I want what is best for my neighborhood and my neighbors, as each of you, as council members, should want. When Dr. Andreo purchased his home at 25 Deer Run, he was specifically informed by the selling realtor, Judy Walton, that the interior lot behind and adjacent his home cannot be joined with his residential property, nor could it be built upon. Shortly thereafter, however, Dr. Andreo petitioned the council to join the properties and close off the alley. I presented a petition to the council that evening, signed by every affected neighbor, imploring the council to deny Dr. Andreo's request. The council, at then Mayor Billy Baines' remark that the request was so absurd he did not even know why it was on the agenda, was immediately eliminated. So, Mayor and council members, here we are again with the same selfish request from Dr. Andreo. But this time, the alley closure and adjoining of the vacant interior lot is not for a playground for his sons, as they are now teenagers. That was his premise before. I believe the ulterior motive of requesting a zoning change so that a residence can be built on the property. The motivation, same as for most selfish individuals. That would be personal monetary greed with no consideration of others. There is one residence I'm aware of in Miami Springs that is built on an interior lot. That is in Lenape Valley. It has been there for decades. I know the family who lived there in the mid-1980s. One of the children was in my Girl Scout troop from 5th through 11th grades. Every time I picked her up or dropped her off, she was visibly embarrassed by living in an alley, even though it was a nice home. There is a code at present in Miami Springs which prohibits interior lot residences. I think it would be extremely detrimental to change that zoning. We live in Miami Springs so that we don't have to contend with a highly type, high-density environment. I would hate for that to change, but if Dr. Andrea's petition is granted, with so many dissenters in this room, many of them, that will open the door to damaging change to the community so many of us care so deeply about. I've been here since 1945, by the way. Dr. Andreo seems to have very little regard for local laws. This is evidenced by allowing what I believe to be an extended family member live in the tiny building on the vacant interior lot, which decades ago was used by National Airlines as a radio communications shack. That person has since moved out. I don't know if that's temporary or permanent. This is totally against code. However, code enforcement was aware of this but did nothing. Why, I ask? Is it because Dr. Andreo is good buddies with Xavier Garcia? Does this friendship with Mr. Garcia influence the council and code enforcement? I worked long and hard to get Billy Bain elected to his first term. During that first term, Billy, you worked hard and long, and you were true to your constituents and yourself. However, shortly after Xavier Garcia was elected to the council, things changed and you seemed to jump the fence, so to speak, and right into Garcia's pocket. It seems you no longer wish what is best for Miami Springs, but what is best for Mr. Garcia's supporters and financial backers, many of whom live outside of Miami Springs, which has turned you into Garcia's pawn, pardon me. When you are no longer useful to him, he will discard you at will. There is way too much cronyism apparent and behind the scenes now in Miami Springs. Some of you are aware of it, some of you are seemingly ignorant to it. The bottom line here is that, for whatever reason, you, our council members, no longer fight for what is right and good for this community, but are swayed by other influences in too many occasions. Thank you.
Thank you. I like the first quote you had from me. That was really nice.
Can I before the next
Sure.
speaker ask a question? The city attorney, why? I just am curious. Why is it being deferred again?
It was
But-
again, the applicant requested time to reach out to the neighbors.
Okay.
Michael Kolikoff.
Yes, good evening. I'm Michael Kobiakov, 907 Hunting Lodge, and I'm coming as me, myself, not as the club. The reason I'm here tonight is I've been seeing with great concern that our past mayor, John Cavalier, passed away, and I have seen nothing done by the city to recognize his labor for 16 years, as two times mayor for 4 terms, twice. And it's sad to see that one of our great leaders, which his father was and he was, we have done almost nothing for him. There was a ceremony at the Women's Club, and that's about it. I mean, there's nothing else. The city has not pronounced himself about him, not has acknowledged his passing away, and I really believe we should recognize his work, his effort for our city as a leader for our community. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How do you say this one? This one. Erasmo de Laban.
Similar to Martha, I'm here concerning the alley. I do understand that Mr. Andrew's sister and his father's here. I understand that Mr. Andrew wants to reach out to his neighbors, and we've been here. We were here last week. We're here this week. He can reach out to us by actually coming here and speaking to us instead of deferring this action. But I'm going to save my words for Mr. Andrew. I want him to hear me. I don't want to keep just talking to you guys and for him not to listen, because I want to be a good neighbor here. I do have 2 letters I want to read to you. They're by my neighbor, who's here too, Mr. Escudero. Okay, the first letter he wrote several, he wrote 2, the first one is, in the past several years, Mr. Alejandro Andrew has filed an application at the City Hall to get permission to close part of the alley that runs between Curtis Parkway and South Esplanade. The request was filed so that he may legally build a super mansion. Once the triangular piece of land is connected to the street, that request was unanimously rejected by the whole council and was considered ridiculous at that time. And here comes Mr. Andrew again, filing a new application to get the alley for himself. But this time Mr. Andrew has used the misleading word vacation instead of just saying, I want the alley for myself. We are upset about this continuing harassment by Mr. Andrew causes us by applying for the same piece of alley every couple of years. We kindly ask the council and planning board to place a ban for future applications for this matter. The city of Miami Springs will not benefit from this fracturing of this infrastructure of the city. Instead, it will cause problems for utility vehicles, trash collectors, and residents as well. The second letter Mr. Escudero wrote is, Dear Sir, we the citizens and homeowners of Miami Springs received a courtesy notice inviting us to a meeting about Mr. Andrew's crazy request. We are 100% sure this vacating the alley doesn't bring any benefit to the city and the property owners that are many, and only benefits Mr. Andrew with his obscure future plans. There is not a need to close that part of the city's alley system, which is well planned. That part of the alley is not causing any hardship to the residents, homeowners, and the city of Miami Springs. On the contrary, it's a godsend to the owners, residents, utility workers, service workers, waste management, etc. The former owners of the triangular land, which Mr. Andrew wants to join by taking possession of the public alley, allowed our parents and grandparents to play with their children, a memory of unselfish former owners who never took from the community. That lot once home to many trees that provided shade and fresh air. Those trees are now gone, and public access and convenience is being threatened. What's next? We kindly ask the council to ban forever this kind of petty petition, which occurs every change of administration. Thank you. Now, I know you guys can't ban Mr. Andrew from coming here, but I do ask you to stop the deferment. I mean, we will all be here next week, so it would be a pleasure if he could show up and he can hear us. Because I have my speech, I want to say it to him. I don't want to say it to you guys. It's not for you, it's for him.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Susie? Susie? Garvila?
Susan Cavilla.
Davila. Yeah, I know, but the writing is hard for me to understand.
Do I need to tell you I'm nervous?
Take your time.
Mayor Bain, council members, and residents. My name is Susie Gavila. I'm at 684 Morningside Drive. Hurricane Irma came and left. Many people had a lot of damages. I don't think we can compare with what others have gone through, and we have been blessed. I personally have been blessed. I had friends. I had my son, who was wonderful this time around and really helped me with a lot of things that had to be done around my house. Also, he had members from his church who came over to help me. And that's one of the reasons I'm here, because it came to me there were seniors who had no help. And on my way over here, I thought maybe I should have checked this more thoroughly with Karen, but I did not do that. But I was wondering if there was some way that should we be again hit with a hurricane, if there was some way that people who wanted to help got together with people, particularly the seniors, those who are sick, those who needed help, would make contact with those people, if that was possible. I don't know. And I don't know if any help was already given. I'm sure some people have families, some people have relatives, some people have friends. Others are alone, and I know that from being involved in some places with the senior center. In conjunction with that, the second thing that I was wondering, if it's possible for a place where they had what is it? A shelter in Miami Springs, because a lot of the shelters that were offered by Miami-Dade County were pretty far away from here. And I don't know, I think at one time many years ago, the high school was a shelter. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that. But if there could be some place locally for particularly the seniors, those who are sick, who needed some place to go and did not want to be alone, if that was a possibility. And I thank you.
Thank you. Eric Elsa?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Eric Elza, and I reside at 98 Canal Street and 1256 Ibis. But I'm here tonight to say what a great job you have done, the city, Tom Nash. They've been out there every day working very hard, and the streets are clear. And the day after the storm, they were out there clearing every road so everybody could pass. And I just think that I want to say thank you for my part, and for I think a lot of the citizens. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. You could come up, but you don't need your name. You could say your name for yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Neri Owens, 169 Corridon Drive. I'm here to talk about vacating the alley. This is the second time it's been deferred. That doesn't seem fair to the residents, And if this Dr. Andreu doesn't want to face the music, then you should vote on it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I spoke on this item the last time it was up. I've only been here since 1958, not 1945 like my junior Miss sister, Martha Kelly. We went to school together. And in that time, I've seen police use the alleys, go down the alleys when you have an ongoing burglary or something where you see police cars in the street and the alleys. So it's not just the utilities or Florida Power and Light. We need it for public safety. If the alley is not being maintained, and that's the issue, then have code compliance or code enforcement go out and enforce our code. Residents are required to maintain that alley. And if Dr. Andreu doesn't want to maintain it, then he should sell his house and move to a place where there are no alleys. Giving in to him hurts the community. I think we need to pass a policy where no alleys, no land of the city should be given away. This is a giveaway. You can't sell it. I know that from the prior city attorney having that issue before. So maybe the city planner needs to be instructed, or the code needs to be changed so that this issue does not come up again, period. As long as I live, my son lives, and my grandchildren live in this community. So please do something constructive and pass a law that this won't happen again. Thank you.
Who's this? Giorgio?
Comments were for the doctor as well, so if he's not here, it's kind of pointless.
Okay, then.
So,
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right.
You're signed up for 10A also. You're
yeah, listen for the
Wait,
okay,
yeah.
so I'm going to waive that. Okay. And the Corton box, you're going to come up as a team?
Hi, my name is Jürgen Kortenbach. I live at 122 Pinecrest Drive. I'm on the inside of the turn that all the trash trucks will have to take, so I don't much care for that. So hopefully it won't be an issue. Okay. All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Residential property zoning is typically governed by local codes and ordinances which divide the land from different areas into legally planned zone and usage areas, restricting the purposes allowed in that applicable zone as a protective measure to uphold the integrity of the community and the welfare, comfort, and property value of all the residents who live there. For most people, their home is the biggest investment, so they have high expectations that any decision regarding a change of code or forfeit of public land abutting their property not be done other than in circumstances that benefit the community as a whole. Dr. Alex and his wife's request to vacate the public right-of-way alleyway along the Deer Run street is extraordinary in that it is asking you to override the wants, needs, and rights of the other residents and taxpayers who live along the Deer Run alley or in close proximity to it. In truth, this is a case where the expression "you get what you pay for" rings true. They purchased a triangle of land in the alleyway with full knowledge that it was zoned as a vacant, unbuildable land bisected by the public alleyway with public utilities for a nominal price and nominal taxes. They pay about $50 a year in taxes. I mean, having it unbuildable makes it quite worthless other than as a park. A common legal practice is to purposefully make requests to delay proceedings on an issue when it is undesirable and not within current zoning codes and being contested by others who would be negatively impacted by the consequences of local zoning codes being overridden. As a professional engineer, I have more than a layman's understanding of the logistics and the mechanical aspects of maintaining, upgrading, and assuring that homeowners' current and future utilities are secure. New technologies are always on the horizon. Miami Springs is a very well-planned city that affords residents a designated site, the alleyways, for electricity, water, gas, and internet services. Who knows what the future holds as to what type of utility upgrades the future may hold. When the telephone poles were installed, the internet did not even exist. Perhaps with the effects of the hurricane, we may opt to bury lines in the alleyways, or more residents may opt to get natural gas piped in. Perhaps with the effects of the hurricane, we may opt to bury lines in the alleyways. The alleyways are an asset to our community, and protecting them from private ownership should be of great importance to our land usage plan for utilities, as well for future improvements to prevent flooding in the event of a storm with a great amount of precipitation. I urge you to discourage further delay, as it's unfair, discourteous, and disrespectful to fellow residents and to you as our city council. I also strongly urge you to oppose the vacation of this public land and uphold zoning codes and land use plans in the best interests of our city. One of the big differences between Hialeah and Miami Springs is the time-tested and proven force of keeping our city beautiful and our property values on the rise, as having high standards and upholding strong protective building and zoning codes. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim?
Good evening. Kim Kortenbach, 122 Pinecrest Drive. I spoke with you last week about this issue, and I kind of see this as an opportunity after having the hurricane, and when we're thinking about the future, you guys have a land usage plan, and I'm wondering whether this has sparked new interest in renewable energy or other ideas for our community. And I see this property, if he doesn't want this property, if it can't be connected, then maybe you guys could consider purchasing it as the city or using eminent domain, and maybe we could put solar panels in there, or we could have equipment for emergency use during hurricanes, or if there needs additional parking, whether it be for the police or the public works or something that's for the community. That I just wanted to put that out there, in that it's it's literally a half an acre of land sitting in the middle of an alleyway that has close access to the golf course, to the police station, to Westward Drive, that I just thought I'd put that out there for your consideration. And I was also wondering, because it keeps getting delayed, have you guys received written reports from Public Works about the alleyway and how they feel about this happening, or do we have to like stay in the dark until he shows up? That was just a question that I had.
Thank you. That concludes open forum. I have Martin Crossman and John Saunders who wanted to speak on this, but there's no item. Do you want to speak now, or you? No? Where's the other fella? John, do you want to speak, or? Quickly. Sure. Sure.
Good evening, council, staff, residents. Today at City Hall at 2:45, I turned in 60 signatures against the alley abandonment. 60. There are some duplicates from my June 13 submission. I have done this fancy color-coded map of the alley system in question, and I have copies for each council member. It was part of what I submitted, but the color coding is pretty sweet. So I'd like each one of you all to have one of those, if I may. 60 signatures that I turned in. You'll see what's in front of you. The system of alleys. The blue square, blue triangle is the land in question. Excuse me, the vacant land in question across the alley from Deer Run, 25 Deer Run. That is the applicant's request. You'll see by the numbers, all the green squares there are people that specifically said no. And that's not bodies, that is households. I have households that had 5 voting members in them that said no. You all have that paperwork in front of you. I was a bit boisterous last week. If I offended anyone, I apologize. I live in this neighborhood. I use these alleys. I want them to continue to be publicly owned so that I can use them the same as all my neighbors. I thank each and every one of you for your time this evening, for the opportunity to speak in front of you.
Thank you. That's everybody that want to speak. We appreciate you coming out. There will be no doubt without, as far as I can do, the next meeting will be a final decision on this item. So I want to let you know that there won't be, as the people have said, a deferral. We're going to go ahead and finish it off at the next meeting. Okay?
Mayor, if I
Thank
may.
you.
So you're saying that if another referral is requested, it's not going to be?
I will not.
Because the reality is that people are upset, they're concerned, they want it to come to an end, whatever it is, and the person asking for the extension or the deferral, hasn't come here, so I don't know if he's communicated with somebody in the city or through his attorney, but I think that it's not justifiable to the community that we keep deferring it like that. I understood after the hurricane, but today really, I didn't say anything when we talked about objections because no one else did. And the reality is that I would have not approved the deferral had we had a vote because I think that it needs to happen. Whatever's going to happen needs to happen either way. But people are too upset at this point and too concerned.
Okay.
Just my thoughts.
You got it. All right, we go to 5A, approval of council minutes, September 18, 2017, regular meeting.
5A, through the chair, motion to move.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Perez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Yes, we go to a public hearing, reading of a resolution.
This is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting the final millage rate for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018, announcing the percentage increase in property taxes, providing for incorporation of recitals, and providing for an effective date. Let me read the one whereas clause on the millage. The proposed millage rate of 7.3575 mils exceeds the rollback rate computed pursuant to Section 200-065 Florida statutes of 699.09 mils by 5.24%, which is a percentage increase in property taxes adopted by the city.
So, Mayor and Council, at this point, it would be appropriate to table this
We're
item.
going to table this item to read the 7B.
Through the chair, are you suggesting a vote on this?
No.
Or table
we're
only?
Gonna table it.
Okay.
We're gonna go to B first.
Go.
B is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a final budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for expenditure of budgeted funds, providing for budgetary controls, providing for grants and gifts, providing for budget amendments, providing for encumbrances, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, now we go ahead.
This would be an appropriate time for you all to entertain any further
Is
changes.
there any
to the budget.
changes that want to be presented for the budget at this time?
I would, Mayor, if possible. I would like to, in view of the hurricane that we had, unexpected costs due to tree trimming, and as we know, we were very, very lucky. We had a very minor hit compared to what we could have had. Still, we had substantial tree damage. So I would like to propose that we increase the budget for tree trimming for our public works for $100,000. I think that's reasonable in view of the next hurricane that comes. We need to be a little bit better prepared and budget, provide the budgeting for our public works director.
When you're saying 100,000, that's 100,000 total or 100,000
Extra, an extra 100,000
extra. What would that do with the millage rate?
Well, it
What would
won't
that
affect
do?
the millage rate, because remember what we did at the end, the 100,000 that was left over, we left in reserves.
Right.
Okay, so
So,
you're gonna put that 100,000 would fall within the 7.3.
It would fall between that and, another consideration would be that you have that 100,000 in reserves, and as the year goes by, if Tom feels he needs more for tree trimming, we can take it out of there instead of making the change now. But if you make the change now, it doesn't change the numbers.
Okay, all right. Any other comments?
Well, yeah, to address Councilman Mitchell's point on this, do we not have a program already in place where we address this through the year, as well as Florida Power and Lights run through the alleys, which is by contract once a year? And then you got FEMA coming through, so is this necessary? Do we allocate this kind of money for that?
I believe it's necessary. We were very lucky in what we had now. It was substantial tree damage. There's no reason to expect that the next hurricane will be this light. We suffered, some residents, 7 days of power down mainly due to tree damage, because basically that's what we had. So I think in speaking with Tom, he needs the resources to be able to adequately be able to prune the trees, evaluate them, cut them down, minimize the potential for the next severe storm to bring our power down, which really brings our whole community down and affects our seniors more than anything else to be without power.
Any comment?
Yes. It sounds to me like all we're doing is just moving monies around. That's what it sounds like. So we either put it in that account or we leave it in the general fund. It's just moving things around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to cost any work for you? Is this going to cost anything for our budget if we do it?
Well, the difference is that right now that money's sitting in reserves.
Right.
What Councilwoman Mitchell is proposing is taking it out of reserves and actually putting it in Tom's tree budget.
But when he needs it, if it's not there and he needs it,
Well,
he'll come to us.
that's what I was saying before. The other
what I'm saying.
option is to wait during the year. As he needs it, we can take it out of reserves and give him the money then.
Either way works. I'm thinking. I mean, it's.
I have no problem with that. I just want Tom to realize that the resources are available to him, because he's basically being proactive in protecting our community. So I want to make sure that, that we all feel comfortable saying it's available to him.
Did you have this conversation with Councilwoman Mitchell about this?
I asked him.
Yes, she had asked me a few days ago what we were going to take, what it was going to take, or what resources we were going to need to recover after the hurricane. I let her know that we had the $100,000 in the regular budget for the year, but based on what we have right now, moving forward, that 100,000 is not going to be adequate. One of the challenges that we had after Andrew, Wilma, and Katrina was we never did any formal restoration or remedial pruning on the trees after the hurricanes. FEMA will not do that. All of the trees that are out there that are damaged right now, they're just going to be removing the damaged debris out of the trees. The remaining portions of those trees that are left have to be, if they can, be restructured or recompensated, and quite frankly, I don't even think 200,000 is going to be enough to go through what we have in the city.
Understood.
And then the bulk of the damages that we had with regards to power lines was mostly trees on private property and in the alleyways. We did have some loss on the main roads or in the residential neighborhoods, but the bulk of our power issues and lines down were due to the fact that the alleys and the alleys, I mean the residential properties were very dense, were very full. And that's something that we've been working on for quite a while.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's either it could be put in a budget as a situation. It also could be put in the budget as a earmarked situation for the renovation of or the cutting of the trees, but it's there. It could be budgeted, or it could be whatever
Designated.
It could be a designated fund balance for tree trimming, And if that's acceptable, I have no problem with that. I don't have no problem.
Through the chair, I would support Councilman Mitchell's request for this, provided that it is in a designated fashion.
All right. Well, I'll need a motion to.
Motion to move the item, sir.
You right?
Second.
Second. Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. All right. Anything else as far as any changes in the budget?
Nothing, sir.
Okay. All right. Now we go to. We table this item.
Table this item and take back the millage rate resolution.
Okay. But when do I have the public hearing?
As soon as you take the millage rate resolution back.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead to the millage rate resolution, and we'll vote on this.
Public hearing. Any further discussion?
And then we'll vote on it. Okay.
You can reread it into the.
Reread the
Yeah, since there was
millage
no-
rate?
Yeah.
This is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting the final millage rate for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2017, and ending September 30th, 2018, announcing the percentage increase in property taxes, providing for an incorporation of recitals, and providing for an effective date.
That's all.
The proposed millage rate of 7.3575 mils exceeds the rollback rate computed pursuant to Section 200-065 Florida statutes of 6.9909 mils by 5.24%, which is a percentage increase in property taxes adopted by the city.
I open this up to a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item?
Mary Owens, Gordon Drive.
You can-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for all of your work in reducing it 5% for all of the residents and myself. I have one question. I think perhaps it's a violation of our city code for a council member to address a department head without going through the city manager. And that should not be. You should go to the city manager and he goes to his department heads and brings the answer back. So please refrain from breaking the law. I know your heart is in the right place, but read the code and our charter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on this item? You're getting. Next time you sit on the other side, so you have to. I closed the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Through the chair, motion to move the item, Mayor.
Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Now we go to the next
Resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a final budget for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2017, and ending September 30th, 2018, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an expenditure of budgeted funds, providing for budgetary controls, providing for grants and gifts, providing for budget amendments, providing for encumbrances, and providing for an effective date.
Anybody, this is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? This pertains to what we just changed a little bit as far as the 100,000. Any comments? Any reservations? Nobody wants to speak? I close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve proposed budget.
Second.
Any further comment? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okie dokie. We go on to now
10B.
We're on to 10B, the resolution.
10B. During last year, the City Council approved that staff contract with Hazen Incorporated for the preparation of a stormwater rate study, since the stormwater fund was operating at a deficit and rates have not been increased since fiscal year 1993, when the fund was originally started. See attached Resolution 93-2949 dated June 14, 1993, and Resolution 2001-3167 dated September 24, 2001. Attached is the final report from Hazen. Mr. Chris Moline from the company is here tonight to present their findings. The Hazen report presents 3 rate proposals, $9.30, $8.50, and $8.20, which are found on pages 16 and 17. Staff believes that the $8.50 option will provide funding for the capital projects that Public Works has identified in the report on page 12, as well as providing a surplus for future projects. Staff recommends that we increase fees for all 3 categories effective October 1st, 2017, as follows. Category 1 residential, currently $3.67 per unit per month. The proposed rate is $8.50 per unit per month. Category 2 commercial is currently $29.60 per acre. Proposed new rate is $38.95 per acre. Category 3 vacant land is currently $9.31 per acre. That will go to $12.25 per acre. The residential increase is $57.96 per year. Categories 1 and 3 have not been increased, as I mentioned, since 1993, while Category 2 was increased by 20 cents in 2001. If Council approves this, we have the attached resolution approving the new rates. And right now, I'd like to bring Mr. Moline to do his presentation for us.
Does this have a pointer on it?
Yes, at the top.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to. Whoop. Can you hear me now?
No.
Thank you for inviting me to present the results of our study, the revenue rate analysis that we did earlier this year. My name is Chris Moline. Chris Moline from Hazen and Sawyer. We're environmental engineers. We are basically a national firm as of fairly recently, with offices basically coast to coast. We have several offices in Florida. I work in the Boca Raton office. Just summarize the scope of work of the revenue analysis project. Number one, we were to review the utility's existing structure and its legal and institutional status, identify and collect all the relevant data that we would need to complete the analysis. We were to evaluate the historical revenue streams that have been generated by the existing stormwater billing system, and then to review the historical operating and capital budgets that have been applied to the stormwater utility. And finally, really the core of the analysis was to determine what appropriate rates would be needed, excuse me, to support the ongoing operating and capital improvement budgets that the city has provided to us. The project was very much in the debt of several staff members who provided significant amounts of support and were very responsive in finding and providing the necessary data and information that we needed to do the work. The stormwater utility, as William had just indicated, was established in 1993 and resides in the city's code under Chapter 53. The ordinance establishes the stormwater utility's dedicated fund, and then as well as a three-tiered billing structure. And it's indicated here that, as William had indicated, that there's 3 components to it. The residential properties are billed based on the number of dwelling units that exist within the property. Non-residential and vacant properties are billed simply based on the the footprint of the property, the total acres. The stormwater ordinance indicates that the billing rate can be adjusted by the city council annually by resolution. And note here that there has been only one amendment to the stormwater utility ordinance, and that was in 1999, where it was mandated that property owners are ultimately responsible for paying stormwater utility fees. As William had already indicated, the current fee structure is shown here: $3.67 per month per dwelling unit for residential properties, and non-residential properties that are not vacant pay $29.60 per acre per month, and vacant properties $9.31 per acre per month. This table here shows basically the contribution of each of the billing category or the properties that fall within those categories. Approximately 91% of the parcels in the city are residential, and they are currently shouldering about 90% of the revenue collection. Non-residential parcels are just about 5% of the total parcels in the city, and provide about almost 10% of the revenue into the stormwater utility fund. Vacant properties just 3.5% and about 1.5% of the revenue.
Go back to that real quick. One question.
Certainly.
That's right now.
That's right now.
Okay.
Yeah. This graphic here basically shows where the city lies with respect to its current billing rate of $3.67 per month against other municipalities within Miami-Dade County that also have stormwater utilities. As you can see, currently the city's rate is sort of in the bottom 25% of the array here. This is a table that just presents the same information tabularly. But as you can see, the extreme, of course, is Miami Beach and Key Biscayne. Their rates have been rising fairly substantially, fairly recently. But as you can see, the city of Miami Springs is in the lower portion of the table.
Sorry, where would, can you go back to the...
Certainly.
When we apply the increase, if we apply the increase, where would it move us up to?
It would bump you up to just north of Pinecrest there.
Whoa.
All the way up there?
Yeah. And actually, I'll be presenting that in a slide further on here. We did a number of reviews or analyses of the current billing system, and I thought I would just give you some quick indications of what we found when we opened up the hood. Number one, we always like to look to see if there are any unbilled parcels in a stormwater utility, because of the fact that unlike water and wastewater, there's utility billing. There are no billing meters that one can rely on. So everything is based on the parcel. So there's always a possibility that there could have been parcel subdivisions such that there could be parcels out there currently that have never been in the billing system. So we just tried to make a quick look to see if there were any, and we came up with about 100 of them. And mind you, that 100 is net of any parcels, any billing accounts that have multiple parcels that are attached to them. We sort of weeded all of those out. So there were about 100 parcels that probably due to parcel subdivisions that had not been billed. But it was a very small amount of money that was involved. As you can see, about $6,700 a year was the amount that could have been added to the utility. A second thing we looked at were underbilled parcels. As I had indicated earlier, that residential parcels are billed based on the number of dwelling units that are associated with the parcel. And with the billing data that we were provided from Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Authority, who the organization that does the billing, was able. It included the basic information about the number of dwelling units that were being built, and we were able to compare that to data from the Miami-Dade property appraiser, and found that there were 34 accounts where the number of billing units, or the number of dwelling units that were billed were greater than the number that were on the current billing roll. So that was 34 accounts that were probably being underbilled. Again, it was not a large amount of money, $8,200 per year.
Excuse me, right here, sir.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
How does this happen?
How does?
You're talking $15,000 between the two items. I went through this and took a look in your report about how many, and I would say there's probably more than 100, based on the two different charts that I read. Basically, what's happening is the rest of the city is subsidizing these people that aren't paying for stormwater, right?
Essentially, yeah.
And a lot of names on those places. On the first chart, names were actually given. On the second chart, they weren't given; just the residence was given. But there were I recognize several of the properties and several of the people. How does that happen?
You know, I think that a billing roll is sort of a living document. And it's one that in every municipality, it's a document that needs to be reviewed and updated, if not annually, every couple of years. And in fact, that's something that we do for municipalities generally, and simply because we
You mean come in front of us and tell us that a lot of people haven't paid their bills?
I'm sorry?
I say you mean what you tell municipalities, meaning coming in front of us and telling us people haven't paid their bills?
Well, we do the same sort of analysis for other utilities, and then we'll go through the process of updating their billing rolls so that, as of that moment, the number of unbilled properties or underbilled properties is at the minimum that it can be at the time. So, the next thing we looked at were delinquencies, and that is the extent to which property owners or account holders are behind in their payment of their utility bills. This was based on information provided by Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Authority as well. As you can see, for the years 2010 through 2014, the amount of delinquencies is fairly low. The highest was in 2012 with 35, and the average number of months in 2012 that people were behind was about 2.7 months. Again, it was not a very large amount of money. As you can see, the average amount per account was usually less than $6 for all of the years. And the total amount that was in arrears for a portion of time was typically less than $400 as well per year. Okay, next I'd like to move on to the stormwater rate evaluation that we did. As William had indicated that the city has a number of capital improvement projects that they're interested in undertaking going forward. In the past few years, there really hasn't been a stormwater capital improvement program in place. But nevertheless, the city has put something together and is represented here on this table. Some of these projects are new infrastructure projects, and others are rehabilitation type projects where existing facilities will be updated or rehabilitated. There's also a couple of equipment items here that are expected to be purchased: a pickup truck and a trash pump. This matrix here also gives a notion of when the city expects to implement the various projects. between the current fiscal year and in fiscal year 21-22. The total extent, the total project cost of all of these projects is just short of $1 million. And as you can see, if you're looking at the very bottom row there of the matrix, that the projects are the annual expenditures are variable between one year and the next. This table here presents a historical view of the stormwater utilities budget, going back to fiscal year 2011 and 2012. The takeaway from this slide here is that that generally the utilities revenue has been short or below the annual expenditures for each one of these years. So indicating that, as William had said, that the current rate of $3.67 is historically been less than would be required to be able to cover all of the costs in a given year. Notice that in the middle of the table, the capital expenditures are set to zero. There essentially has not been any capital expenditures on the stormwater system for the last 5 years. The next step in the project was to look forward, and this table here presents both the expected revenue and operating and capital expenditures starting in this fiscal year, 2017-2018, and going out to fiscal year 21-22. Excuse me. The building rate in this particular table is set to the existing building rate, and such that, and it shows that moving forward, that when you include both increases in expected increases in operating costs plus the costs associated with the capital improvement program, that in every single year there's expected to be a shortfall from $300,000 to almost $600, or actually almost $520,000. As you can see from this table, that because the bulk of, or I wouldn't say the bulk of, but a high level of capital expenditure activity is expected to occur in the next fiscal year, that the highest budget shortfall will be in the next fiscal year. So once we looked at each of the upcoming five years, we set to try to attempt to find a billing rate that would allow the city to cover all of its operating and capital costs for each of those 5 years. So the key for setting that rate, of course, was to be able to cover the large capital expenditure that would happen next year. And so that rate was $9.30. Please be mindful, though, what we've done with the in determining each year's bottom line is that if there was ever a budget surplus in a given year, we rolled that budget surplus over to the next year, so it was available for handling the subsequent year's costs. The good news about a $9.30 fee rate is that by the fiscal year 2021, there is a fairly substantial surplus in the stormwater utility fund of about $230,000. It's a fairly substantial increase from three. It's about 150% from $3.67 to $9.30. Because of that, The city indicated to us that they thought that it might be a very reasonable approach in dealing with the capital expenditures to maybe to spread the capital expenditures and implement projects more evenly across all of the subsequent 5 years. And we did that. And what the notion was that we wouldn't have that large bump in fiscal year 2018-19, so that we could basically lower the rate that would cover all of the subsequent years. So we did that, and we found that $8.20 would be an adequate rate as long as the capital expenditures were limited to $150,000 per year. As you can see on the second line from the bottom, that unlike the $9.20 fee rate, the residual amount left in the Stormwater Enterprise Utility Fund is rather minimal at a rate of $8.20. So we also looked at increasing that rate by 30 cents to $8.50, with a specific goal in mind of trying to leave a legacy in the fund by fiscal year 2021-22. So we did that, and so the bottom line here in this table shows what by 2021-22 you'd have about $120,000 in the fund. So, as I had indicated earlier, here's that graphic that I had presented with the $8.50 fee, and shows that if passed, the city of Miami Springs would, instead of being in the lower 25%, would be in the upper 25%. And here is that same sort of table indicating that, as I said before, that it would be just below, slightly below Coral Gables in their monthly billing rate. And there you have it. Is there anyone that has any questions they'd like to?
Anybody?
Mayor, I just have there goes our millage cut, right?
Well, I got a question. You didn't bring up anything. He gave a $8.50, $38.95, I think, was for commercial, and 12 was
25.
For huh?
And $12.25 for vacant land.
For vacant land. Yeah. How does that calculate into the $8.50?
Oh, it does. It's just built into this.
It's built into the $8.50?
Yeah, in all the calculations that we do, we basically convert the non-residential and vacant lands into an equivalent billing unit that would be associated with the $8.50. If that makes sense. In fact, that's exactly what the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Authority does when they set up their billing roll.
And where does this bill come from? Where do the residents see this bill?
It's in the water bill.
It's in the water bill, and this is a water bill that is the water built in. This is on top of what the county charges us.
Yeah.
Yep.
This would be on top of it to the city of Miami Springs, because
Right.
we
If you look at your water bill, there's a monthly charge there for stormwater.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you'll see right now $367 a month.
Right. That's where it is for stormwater. What
Right.
does stormwater do? What does it do to the city? How does it help her? What does stormwater do for a resident?
Whenever it rains and the water puddles for a couple of days and people start complaining, how come my water's not, that's what stormwater
That's what
is.
the stormwater does?
Evacuates it.
Yeah.
And this is for the drainage and the different things in the city?
Correct. It's citywide. We have a little over 800 various drains in the city. We have positive outflows that'll go to the Melrose and Esplanade canals, out to the main traffic circle behind Hook Square. We've got one that runs down Oakwood out to the C6 canal, and we have a few that dump into Ludlam. We have auger wells that are basically holes in the ground. A lot of those need to be rebored. The structure boxes that are within these have to be repaired.
All right, so that's what this is for.
Correct. We haven't had any significant water flooding here.
You all right, Tom?
His pen's choking up trying to catch up with me. We haven't had any water issues here for a while because we've been pretty much on top of it, but we're
Okay.
we're in need of some repairs.
Thank you. Now, when this 850 on the water bill, that 850 is going to be across the board. The commercial people get an 850 charge,
No, commercial property is $38.95 per acre.
It's more.
so that's 38.95.
Per acre.
How does the 850 fall in if the residents pay?
850 is only for residential, single-family homes, duplexes.
But that's what I asked him. He
Right.
said that it's only one. It was calculated as one. I'm trying to figure out how you have the 1225 and the 3895. Why that's not calculated in the bottom line?
It is. When you see his chart with total revenues, that's including all of these properties.
But I don't see where on the line item where the other two charges are there. In other words, how many commercial properties do we
Well,
have that
he
pay?
showed you a chart.
I
Go
didn't
back
see
to the
that.
chart, the one you asked that showed 90% were residential and 10% were commercial.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so in this chart right here, that's what the rates are right now.
That's the rates now.
All right,
so-
what would that chart be? Well, you-
Except there's an error here. This is 931.
I was just gonna say, that's
That-
wrong.
That's an area, so. yeah.
Now, with that chart there,
Yeah,
the residential charge is gonna be 850?
Right. Yes.
850 per dwelling unit, that's
That,
correct.
that's the top, and then the
Right.
non-resident is gonna be,
The commercial is going to be 38.95.
where's the commercial on that chart?
The non-residential.
Okay, that's non-resident, you're calling non-residential commercial?
That's commercial.
It includes,
Are
commercial
there four
properties.
four
and-
categories now instead of three? There's only three
There's only
categories.
Non-residential are all other types of development, including industrial, restaurants, shops.
That's non-residential.
Right. Schools, institutions of any kind.
Warehouses.
Everything falls into non-residential that isn't residential. They would be considered residential. So if there was a rental apartment with, say, 50 units in it, it would be charged 50 times the billing rate. Or currently it would be 50 times $3.67 per month, et cetera.
Why wouldn't you show this chart with the new fees?
Oh, I certainly could have. And
Why didn't you? Because then we could show the differential of what's going on here, and maybe we can adjust the non-residential charge versus the residence charge.
yes.
Because I think that the situation here is 91% of the people are paying for stormwater, but in my mind, the non-residential part of it is a lot to do with where the stormwater might be the problems. But I don't understand why the hit comes if we can make this a better calculation for the non-resident and the vacant than it is for the resident. I throw that out. I mean, you understand instead of it being 90%, maybe we can make the non-resident 80% and make it up where the non-resident might pay $6 instead of $8.50, and the non-resident fee goes up to go with what commercial property should go.
I think if I understand this right, through the chair, what the mayor is trying to say here is, what he is saying, is the fact that we're like a 75 or 82 versus 18 residential commercial, and this seems to be putting a heavy load on the residents. All right.
That's what I'm saying. Because the fact remains is the non-resident has an opportunity to create profit, and create profit of what they have to pay. They have the opportunity to create profit. The resident doesn't. So in my mind, I think that the staff, before we vote on this, can come up with a better calculation on help, and I don't know if what the council thinks, but I think to go to an 850 from a 367 to an 850 is tough. So I would go with the $6 and then do a calculation of what the non-resident and the vacancy should pay.
Well, I think, Chris, the calculation is the total revenues we're going to need on an annual basis.
Correct.
Regardless of let's say you reduce the residential to $6. That would mean the commercial and the vacant lot would take a tremendous hit
You would have to
make up
raise-
that revenue amount.
You would have to raise the rates.
Well, I would like to
on the
know what that.
commercial.
I would like to know what that rate would be.
Well, that's right. I can tell you that I mean, this is one of the fundamental questions of setting up a rate structure for a utility, is getting those ratios to be what the city
And
is
see, you didn't show us on any of the chart what the other municipalities are charging, or I missed it, what the other municipalities are charging a non-resident.
Well, there's as many rate structures out there.
No. You have strictly, you have the resident rate right there. You had it right there. You had the chart, but you had no
Agreed.
chart or any average from all the municipalities that what they're charging their non-resident fee. And to go ahead and say, what was it? Miami Beach was $16 or whatever. You had the whole thing, but you didn't show us an option of what the non-resident rate is throughout the county for all the other people.
Correct. In many municipalities in the county, they only have one rate. It would be this monthly billing rate, and the reason is that instead of non-residential properties being charged by just basically by the acre, in other municipalities, what they do is they measure the impervious area that is on the parcel.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't give me any help on what I want to
And
do.
everybody gets charged the same rate, is what I'm trying to say.
You mean that the commercial properties and the resident gets charged the same rate in other municipalities?
They do, but again, it's a different structure for billing them.
It's a different formula, Mayor.
It's a different formula. So they do it in such a way that they can just have one rate. The beauty of the system, this is a very simple system to deploy, and it's a good one. But what it does require is that each category has a specific rate, as you see here. So the city has the ability to adjust those individual rates for each category to sort of change the ratio of revenue coming from one sector of the economy or another.
Well, let me get this straight now in my mind here. So, in other words, a commercial building on 36th Street,
Mm-hmm.
their rate is currently
it's $29.60 per acre.
per acre.
Per acre.
All right, then I would propose to council to have staff come back and come up with, if we do the resident at $6, what the non-resident should be and what the vacancy should be to get where they want to be.
Mayor, if I may, before the council considers this, I think that, and perhaps the gentleman can address this a little further, there does have to be a rational relationship between the rate that the city is passing along to the consumers and the type of property. And I think that's why in a lot of other cities we see that while the rate may be the same across the board, the way that it's calculated is different. So, maybe you can address the ERUs and how that's addressed in different cities.
Then my question to you is, then why show us these other two situations? Why show us $29.60 and $12.31 why show the $3 if everybody right now is paying $3.67? Why show us the $29.60 and the $12.31?
The way that the city's ordinance is set up is that there's 3 different categories.
Okay.
So right off the bat, that's how our ordinance is set up. So each type of category carries a different weight. And at some point, when the stormwater utility was set up, I'm assuming, because we weren't here, there was a study probably conducted to figure out how these rates should be set up and why. Because for stormwater utility, you can't just pull these things out of the air.
Let me ask the question. When a commercial person gets their water bill, they get their water bill.
Mm-hmm.
We get the charge of $3.67 on our residential bill.
Right now.
When a commercial one gets
What
it?
does the commercial one say on the bottom of their bill?
$38.95 per acre, depending on how many acres, like you were saying, that property has.
You mean they get $29.60 right now?
$29.60 times whatever number of acres.
Okay, so I am correct. If we go ahead and do a calculation of what the rate would be for a resident at $6, and then what the non-resident and the vacancy should be to counteract the raise, so that the resident only goes up to $6 now, $6. and then see what the non-resident and the vacancy should be.
It's gonna be hundreds of dollars. It's gonna go from
I don't care.
29.60.
Hey, listen, I don't care. I want to know what it is.
Mayor, you have to remember, you're only talking about 5% of the parcels.
I'm not looking at giving
Mayor,
the
5% of the are
not
commercial.
giving the resident a kick up. I'm not.
Mayor, can I
doubling
say
their
something?
Could you,
thing. I'm not gonna
William,
vote for that.
about how much is monthly is each resident's rate going to go with this increase?
Like $5.
How much?
Monthly?
Yes.
Like $5.
It's from 367 to 850.
That's the total
It's-
that we're
it's-
talking
right,
about.
it's big.
It's not, it's actually is $9 or whatever it's going to be, eight something.
It's gonna be $850 per
Okay.
month.
All right.
Right.
Mayor, if I'm hearing this
Okay, but
correctly-
we're talking about going from, I just want to make clear that we're talking about going from just under $4 to just under $9 a month total.
And I remember an argument made up here about percentages. That's a hell of a lot of percentage.
133,
Even though it doesn't seem
Mayor.
it's $9 is a lot to go up in 1 year.
I have a question now. If I'm hearing correctly, these rates that you're proposing is based on projects that we want to do.
Exactly.
So if we cut back the projects, we can cut back the rates.
Correct.
Okay, the other thing is I heard you somewhere along the line, I could be incorrect, you talked about surplus, that sometime down the line, we're going to have $200,000 surplus?
If you
adopt
years.
these rates.
If you adopt an 850 rate.
Right.
At the end of the fifth year, fiscal year.
119,000.
You would have 119,000.
Can we spread it out more evenly, so at the end of that time, we have zero surplus, but we have not increased the rates throughout the 4 or 5 years? This is a big increase you're proposing.
Correct. We found that at $8.20, that if you implemented that, you would have a very, very small residual at the end of the fifth year.
$118,000, right?
No. If you set it at $8.20 as
Okay,
opposed to
$8.20.
$8.50, but $8.20 was the minimum that you could charge and be able to cover all of your projected costs.
Can we cut back on the projected projects and then lower the cost?
It's more complicated.
That might be a way of doing it because.
Well, I think of course, we know what some of them are, but I think we need a list and be able to look at what all of them are.
Right, and maybe cut on some of them and then lower the.
This is an awfully intense increase all at once, in my view.
It's substantial.
Very.
But
We're trying to make up for 24 years.
I think
That's
this
the
is
problem.
responsible. It's a responsible.
Mayor, if I
Huh?
can interject and
No, he
just
wasn't. Well,
give perhaps a small
Willie wasn't here.
amount of.
Eric, please. Eric.
He wasn't here for that. It's not fair to say.
I think one of the reasons that council may be seeing that some of the other cities have gone up substantially in their pricing, in their rate structure rather, the city of Miami Beach has been focused on reducing flooding throughout the entire city. We all know the detriment that the entire city has been going through because of all of the floods. I think part of this, and Mr. Nash may be able to address this more, this is all preventative to avoid having flooding. So I think whatever the council decides tonight, I think it's important to recognize that this is a way of maintaining the city's status as a city that perhaps doesn't flood as much as some of our sister cities. So the rate increases that have been experienced in Miami Beach and Key Biscayne were in the last couple of years, and it's all as a result to either reduce the flooding that they're experiencing or maintain their level of not flooding. So
there are many municipalities that have not raised their rates over the years. It's not an unusual situation, but many of them have found themselves in the similar position where the amount of renewal and replacement of existing infrastructure has just not happened. So it's sort of a painful catch-up, unfortunately. And I think that's probably why the crafters of the original ordinance had made it possible to increase the building rate on an annual basis if needed. But it's never easy to do that. But at any rate,
Mayor and Council, the only thing I would also say is we're seeing the cities on a list without consideration of population. I mean, you'd have to look at the formulas and then see how those break out to comparison of population and also amount of commercial. So I mean, it would require a much more detailed analysis to get a fair snapshot of how these things, compare to Miami Springs.
I think through the chair to the city attorney, the chart I saw, we were like, I believe it was fifth behind Coral Gables, and then there was like 4 in front of us. If you calculated populations in commercial to residential in all 4 of those cities that were above us, I think you would find that they are all more populous, and they all have a much higher commercial to residential ratio.
But according to this, has nothing to do with it.
Oh, yeah, but he's suggesting it does, though.
No, it does, Mayor, because it's either by commercial acreage or dwelling
Look,
units.
I've asked for something here, and I don't know why I'm getting denied. I asked for if we had the rate for the resident at 6 and what the rate would be for the non-resident. I would like to know what the rate would be for the calculation. I can't see how all of a sudden when Miami Beach is paying $16.67, a municipality like that, Key Biscayne, Coral Gables, $8.80, and now all of a sudden Miami Springs is going to have to pay $8.50 in a 3.1 square mile parcel. I don't understand it in my mind to have to go that high up to against all the municipalities that are up there. I mean, Miami-Dade County's 4, Miami Gardens is 4. You see 367, Cutler Bay 4. Here we are, North Miami 619.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that chart, the chart that you're showing us, like right now, if you show it to someone else, it would show that we're in the lower section, but obviously you're recommending that we move up to the top. Is that chart representative of what these other cities are expected to be paying, say, for the next fiscal year, or are they also moving up in cost?
These values here are historical, and they're based on a survey that the Florida Stormwater Association does every other year.
Okay, so it's possible that for those municipalities, the rates are changing
They
substantially
very well could
also.
be. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, these are a year old.
They're a year old.
They're a year old, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I would just like to say, and I understand what the mayor's saying, and I agree, I have no problem if we readjust it, but the amount that you need, that's responsible planning for our community, and it's just as important as, keeping the trees down, preventing flooding for our area is something that the residents expect us to plan for. So I think it's very important that we devote the proper money necessary for stormwater. But I understand what you're saying if readjusting right.
I don't have no problem voting the proper money, but I don't know if the things that bothers me right now is they show us 3 categories, and now all of a sudden one category. If I make one category one thing, the other category should be another. To understand, to get the basis of the bottom line that they want. Okay, I'm trying to go. The whole essence of what we talk about up here all the time is the resident. In other words, it's what Councilman Petrolonga says. We just cut the budget and we gave the residents the millage rate, which is whatever. Now all of a sudden, what did we do that for? We're coming right back now. We're going to increase it on them, and you say, you're going up 100-something% on an item.
131%.
131%. We're increasing an item 131%. That's not the point. And you're supposed to be right, and you're a writer. You're not supposed to have an opinion. I still haven't got the answer. What it would be? How much would it be?
Well, it's not. That's something we have to do calculations because you have to. And I can tell you right off, the commercial rate is going to go through the roof because the problem is you only talk about 5% of the parcels are non-residential. Mm-hmm. So if whatever you reduce.
No, William, I understand that. Yeah. I want to know the number.
Well, we'd have to sit down.
I want to know the number before I vote on this. I want to know the number.
The other thing I want to ask you, I'm still hung up on these projects. Now, is that the minimum amount of projects that we need to implement in order to move forward with the city, or is this like everything that we could do, we're doing it?
I think Tom would probably need to address that.
Again, I think if we want to lower it, we can maybe look at the projects. That would be more feasible than maybe raising the business rates. Because we also want to keep the businesses viable. We don't want to pass everything to the businesses. Like, we don't want to pass it to our residents.
I don't know. I just don't understand. I'd like to see what the, I'd like to see a water bill in Doral. No, no, I'd like to see a water bill in Doral.
But Doral is a larger
Doesn't matter. I'd
commercial
like to
base,
see.
way larger.
Yeah, but I'd like to see how it's based.
Mayor, can
I
Tom
would like
answer
to
my
see their
question, please?
structure of their water bill. I'd like to see the structure of Miami Lake's water bill. I want to see this $3.67, how it's done.
Did you hear the question? or did you
No,
repeat?
I didn't.
Now, these rates are based on our projects that we want to move ahead with. Are these projects all needed? Because we can reduce the rate if we reduce the amount of projects. Or is this the minimum amount of projects we can do and still be viable as a city?
Well, we have a couple of projects that we've been looking at since last year. One would be the Fairway Drive corridor to add additional drainage because we have water issues over there. That project is $135,000. We had another area here on North Royal behind the commercial properties that we've been looking at for 2 years. That project is, that one's 135, the Fairway's 110. We have, some of them can be postponed, but it's things that we're definitely going to have to address moving forward. Some of the higher end ones are a little bit more critical. The pickup truck that's in here, normally when we do the different allocations for vehicles, we put them in the different departments: sanitation, stormwater, those types of things. So these are things that could be budget items instead of being implemented into this category. We can set up some kind of a plan to do a certain amount of these auger wells or restructure some of these other areas that need to be repaired and go from a more critical one, down. But all of this is basically preventative maintenance moving into the future because they've not been touched since they were installed.
Mayor, so what I propose is, what I propose is that while they're figuring out your numbers, maybe they can sharpen their pencils and come up with, prioritize these projects so you can come up with more feasible numbers rather than increasing it so much. Maybe look at some of these things. Think outside the box so we don't, lower the millage on one side and then now we're gonna stick it to them on the other side by raising all these stormwater rates that much. So I think it's something that I concur with the mayor, something we need to look at before we vote on it.
Do you have an actual list on prioritizing what you want to do?
Well, they're not in any particular order, but we do have a list.
On
All right,
page
why don't-
12, Mayor.
Huh?
On page 12.
12. As far as that goes, do you want to go ahead and humor us and put what you would need in this fiscal year and the next one and the next one? And then see what these rates would be with what I asked for, and we'll finalize this if it's okay with council the next council meeting.
Well, I think through the chair, Mayor, I believe that on page 12 that is broken down.
Right, but let them choose which ones prioritize them.
No, they've got them laid out here between 17 and 22
Right, well,
fiscal
then
years.
cut back on some of them, I'm thinking.
I would again like to caution the council. I think we need to be responsible with stormwater management. This is planning for our future and for our residents, and it's not something that's popular. It's not something that's sexy, but it's something that is incumbent upon
Yep.
the city to plan ahead for these kind of things.
It's true, but we could wait till next
I
meeting.
have
and
a
get
question.
Some of these answers. Nothing's going to
Understand.
happen till next meeting. We got enough trees in the earth to collect the water for us right now. So I think we can wait till the next meeting, and maybe I could get my answers that I want, and we can evaluate what we want to do.
I have a question
that's
for
what I say.
Tom. So these projects, if only some are done or they're not done, does this impact the cities getting flooded more than it is now because we're not doing these projects? Is it going to affect residents, like flood insurance policies? Are we going to be a higher risk because we don't update?
No, what it
this?
does is it just increases our maintenance, and it increases our amount of times that we have to go out there. There might be a two or three of them here that are a little bit more critical than others. You know, we pretty much touch every single drain that's in this city within the year. We're mandated by the NPDES to do that. So the ones that are very critical, we just, you know, try to work with what we have and get us a Band-Aid to get us through the, you know, to the next.
Right. So I'm thinking a Band-Aid is not being responsible. I think that, you know, we need to do what needs to be done. And I understand we can look at it different ways. So we just cut something in terms of our budget, but now this is an increase, and it looks like a large increase, but when you put it in perspective in terms of annually what it means to each resident, it is not a whole lot.
And if I could just add just a little bit more to his answer, city, by way of its policies, programs, and projects, can affect its rating in the National Flood Insurance Program. And so, you know, by, for example, the city elevating its base flood elevation for new construction, that might cause FEMA to take a look at our rating. And so as the city's rating improves, that in effect lowers, you know, premiums for flood. But that's something to take a look at holistically.
Well, there is somebody, we have somebody working on that.
Well,
as far
because
as the flood, I asked to implement that last time on council.
Thank you,
We
Tom.
are trying to go ahead and implement that. There are places in the city that are flood related that they're going to check the elevations and everything. I haven't seen
Right.
the results of that program, but I have done that.
There's a lot of
But
AH zones where people are paying a tremendous amount of money in the city.
Yeah, and I told you that we're working on trying to get that reduced. Is there a motion or to table this till more information till next meeting? Are we ready to vote on this? I entertain a motion.
I move that we vote on this today.
I second it.
I got a first and second. Call the vote.
What are we voting on?
On
We're
the
voting on
on
the
the 850.
on the
presentation.
presentation, the 850.
Councilwoman, I think, is the motion to approve staff's recommendation for the increase?
We spoke about two different increases. We talked about a 9-something one and an 8-something one,
So-
correct?
I think
Which one
The
do you want?
recommendation.
At this point, I'm ready to vote, but yes, then we need to narrow it down to what that motion is.
the original
The
thing,
recommendation
850.
from staff was the 850
Mhm.
for residential. The
38.95
For commercial.
For
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 commercial,
non-residential.
12.25
Vacant.
for vacant.
Okay, so motion to approve the recommendation from staff for 850 for residential and accordingly for non-residential, et cetera.
I'll second it.
I want
Oh,
to say something
go ahead.
real quick before. Keep in mind, some of us, I guess, are wealthier than others. But this is a big increase for some folks in our community. I know we need to do this. I think we should look a little bit further into this before we go and vote on this. So I just want to say that.
I
We're
agree.
talking for residents like $60, $70 a year.
Like I said, some of us are more wealthier than others.
I have a single
I can
salary
remember
home.
when the percentage there was the
So-
Pelican Lake House
When you
was
look
a-
at when you
was
look
an
at
issue.
this in perspective, you look at numbers. They're a big increase.
Okay, through the chair, Mayor, you have a first and a second, sir.
Yeah, I got first and second. Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best,
Nay.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata,
Yes.
Councilman
No.
Petrolanda, Mayor Bain.
No. I think that we want to come back with it with the idea of what the non-resident and different things at 6, and a proposal of what his idea of what's prioritized in the next years, and see what the numbers come up with, and see if we want to come back to this proposal, or we get another
Okay,
one.
so you want to know at $6 what the other rates would be
Yes.
to come up with the same, with the dollar amount that we need to operate?
Or the dollar amount, or what would make it neutral. Doesn't
Right,
necessarily
right,
have to have a
right.
profit at the
Right.
end. What
Yeah.
would make it neutral?
And through the chair, Bill, if I might, or Mayor, if I might add on to that, to the manager, could we redo the map on page 12 in terms of what the new number would be relative to what a projects would
On
be?
the capital projects?
Yes, sir,
Yes.
on page 12.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay. We have a request from, thank you, sir. We have a request from the Optimist Club. I think we have a representative the one and only president of the Optimist Club. Maybe the only
one and
member.
only.
Maybe the only member of the Optimist Club.
Nah.
The only member.
One-man party?
He throws a hell of a party.
All right.
Hello.
You could hold it if you want.
No, I don't really want to, but hello. My name's Carl Bithorn. I'm the excuse me, president of the Optimist Club, Miami Springs, Virginia Gardens Optimist Club. My request is, we want to do a wine and cheese event at the Sosa Theater along with a jazz concert. We did one 2 years ago at the club, but we only had the we're only big enough to do a 6-piece ensemble. The people that are we're getting, the jazz is the New World School of the Arts. They're exceptional. Just to show you, in 2016, at the 21st Annual Essential Ellington Festival in Lincoln Center, New York, they came in first place. They're really, really awesome. It was a great event. I did the application. I've talked to Ralph. We plan on doing November 18th at the Rebecca Sosa Theater. But I was told I need to get your all's permission as far as doing the wine and cheese part of it, because it's on city property. We're going to do the event from 6 to probably 11. From 6 to 8, we'll do the wine and cheese bit, and then we'll have everybody go inside, and the New World School of the Arts will do the concert for probably, I don't know, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 20. The reason I wanted to do it, could have done it at the club, but the reason I want to do it at the center is to get the whole band. Like I said, the whole band was #1 in the nation in 2016, and they're really, really good. It's a fundraiser for us, the club, and it's going to be a fundraiser from the New World School of the Arts. Obviously, they need to raise money also because they go to New York. When we did the thing 2 years ago, they were in Japan, so they have to raise money too. And we have a good relationship with them. The other thing I needed on the application, there's a nonprofit fee of $400. I want to know if the city council could waive that, because that's $400 that we'd have to come up with. And that's going to take from our profit is going to take from the New World School of the Arts profit. So if you could waive that and give us the permission to do the wine and cheese, it's going to be a great community event. You all should come. It's exceptional for the women because wine. You got wine and cheese. They can bring their husbands. but just the jazz part of it.
What a novelty.
We're going to charge $40 per couple, $25 for individual. But just the jazz part of it is worth the $40. I'm telling you right now.
They were terrific.
They were exceptional. That was only 6-piece.
Yeah.
Do we have is that, Eric, is that an open date for as far as the theater is concerned?
I'm sorry?
The 18th of November?
He said you talked
We have
to
no
Ralph.
Yes, I believe
Yeah, I already
available.
talked to Ralph about it.
What is the precedent relative to waiving the $400 fee in terms of what we've done in the past?
I believe decision of council.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's charging the $400?
It's
part of our permit application.
Right. It's a nonprofit fee.
What would be the cost for us, the city? $400, or is that the rate?
The
No.
cost, whatever the cost, if we need public works, or if we need, I don't
Clean
know,
up,
for
that
this
kind of
event, if
stuff,
we
yeah.
need some policing.
I don't believe so, but
What about the, I don't have a problem waiving the fee, but I would like you, if you're going to serve alcohol, to get the insurance that we're going to be requiring for the aquatic center.
we have insurance.
For
The
the
city has
serving
our-
alcohol.
The city has our insurance on.
I think they piggyback off that, yeah.
The city has our insurance on.
But that's for serving alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have all that.
A motion? Do we want to make a motion to waive the
Motion to move for the allowance of the presentation to go on November 18th with the serving of alcohol at the Pelican Playhouse for the Optimist Club.
And waiving the fee.
And in doing so, waiving the $400.
I'll second it.
Maria had the second. Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to start promoting this thing as quick as possible. I've already met with Jim Gazer he's very excited about it. This guy's really, really into the music, so it's going to be a great event. It's an event that everybody can come to.
Would you do it 2 years ago?
Yeah, we did it 2 years ago,
When
2015.
I went, we had a great time, and the band is good, and the wine's pretty good too. Actually, after the
pretty good,
third
too.
glass, it's very good.
No, but if we can get their whole band, we only had 6-piece band, and now we're that
People
good.
tell me.
So if we get the whole band, it'll be
You got the
better.
whole band now?
Yeah, he'll bring the whole band with the singer and all that stuff. We just had a 6-piece ensemble, and they were exceptional.
New World is an awesome school. My daughter went there back in the 90s when it was New World, because now you have a lot of magnet schools and
Right.
charters and all that. So New World is not what it used to be back then. But it was amazing. Those kids were amazing.
No,
So I'm
these-
sure they still are, but
It's hard to believe they're high school kids, and we use the money to give to the different organizations, whether it's soccer, football, baseball, high school, and then we're going to help our high school kids also. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl. Good luck. Okay, we go to city attorneys. Anything from y'all?
Mayor, item 10C.
10C, resolution. Oh, I skipped it. 10C, a resolution to marry. Oh, this was an important one, too.
Yeah.
I was trying to get out paid. Nobody said anything about that one, did they?
He wasn't going to let you get away.
he's sharp on that one.
Already checked it
I
off.
thought you were just, I think you can call it, the courtesy. So, sure.
This is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a retainer agreement with Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Coleman, and Berman, PL, for defense of the city in the lawsuit styled Dillon Pools, Inc. versus Lunacon Engineering Group, Incorporated, DBA Lunacom Construction Group, Incorporated, in the city of Miami Springs, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for authorization, providing for an effective date. Let me have
You want
the
to
memo.
explain it, or
Let me read
Yeah.
the memo.
Okay.
The city of Miami Springs has been named a defendant in a lawsuit initiated by Dillon Pools, Inc., styled Dillon Pools, Inc. versus Lunacom Engineering Group, Incorporated, DBA Lunacom Construction Group, in the city of Miami Springs. Dillon was a subcontractor for Lunacom Construction on the Aquatic Center project. The lawsuit claims that Lunacom owes Dillon approximately $148,000 and claims that the city is unjustly enriched, a claim that has no basis since Lunacom has been paid in full with the exception of retainage, which is currently being held back pending execution of an agreement for closing out of the contract and receipt of releases of liens. Staff requests that council approve the attached retainer agreement to expand the services with Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Coleman, and Berman to include the handling of this lawsuit, as it is beyond the scope of the regular city attorney and construction retainers. The matter will be overseen by Dan Espino and Michael Kurzman and addressed by seasoned litigators at their firm. Mr. Kurzman is our construction contract attorney who was referred to the city by Jan Seaton 2 years ago to assist the city with the Curtis Mansion construction issues and in the initial contracting with Lunacon. The firm has advised that we will seek to get reimbursement of all legal costs in defending this suit from Lunacon and or Lunacon's bonding company as part of the closeout agreement we are currently working on with Lunacon's attorney. At the present time, we still owe Lunacon approximately $202,000, less $25,000 that they're paying us for additional project management work and loss of revenues when due to the closure of the pool during that period. So the net due them is about $177,000. And at the present time, Mr. Kurzman is handling this for us, and we won't issue final payment until we get all the necessary agreements in place.
That's right, Mayor and Council. Well, I mean, we're, like you said, we're working on closeout right now. Mike from our office is not only our construction partner, but also has been involved in this since contracting, and certainly have been involved recently when we started having a little bit of a disagreement with Lunacon. But part of the closeout is that any liability associated with any subcontractor that may still have a pending pay application would be covered. Dillon Pools feels aggrieved, and so one of the conditions that we required is that either Lunacon or its surety, the bond company, reimburses the city for all of its for all of our legal fees associated with it. Just as William said, our both the construction retainer agreement that we've got and also the city attorney one doesn't include litigation, so we want to bring this forward. But we feel comfortable in our position, and also we're not going to lose any time with bringing new council up to speed since we've been involved from the beginning.
Okay, I need a vote for this.
Sure.
Through the chair, motion to move for Weiss Sirota to represent the city in this activity.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Beth?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bay?
Yes. Anything from the city attorneys?
Yes, two points of personal privilege, I suppose. The first one is I'll say as a resident, I too wanted to thank the city for its responsiveness to Hurricane Irma. You know, I've got pretty. My mom lives here, so does my brother live here, and so you know to see the way the city responded across the city from streets to alleys to everything, it was just it's impressive, and I just wanted to say that as a resident. The other thing I wanted to say was I did want to beg the council's forgiveness for the we'll call it the smirking at the last council meeting that I was chastised for by one of the speakers. I usually try to maintain decorum, and I appreciate the council for redirecting the comments. But I will say that I found the comments amusing because I found it hypocritical that you all would be chastised for hearing a public hearing that's required by code when someone else took that same opportunity to petition its government and move forward. And also, if I represented, the other thing that was amusing to me, that if I represented to you all misinformation, or if I went before a judge and provided as much misinformation as is often provided to you all, I don't think I'd be a lawyer very much longer. And so both of those things were the things that I found amusing during the public comments. And I want to share that with you because, again, I do try to maintain my decorum. But other than that, Mayor, I got nothing else.
Thank you. Anything from the manager?
No, just the Women's Club is having the craft fair September 30th, 8:30 to 3. And getting back to Dan's comments about the cleanup in the city, that's why I asked Tom to one of the reasons I asked him to be here tonight is just to provide you a little update of where we are with the cleanup and what areas of town we're doing. I put something out yesterday or this morning that as of Friday, end of business Friday, we have picked up almost 400 truckloads of debris. It's about 17,600 cubic yards. They worked all weekend. They worked today. I put the areas of town that they were concentrating. I think most of the east end is done. We're now concentrating on the bird section and in the southwest section of town. So, Tom, you have anything to add?
I just a few minutes ago, while we were sitting in the back at 8:30, got an update from Thompson, our debris management. As of close of business today, we've moved 26,811 cubic yards of debris out of the city so far. We're working on trying to restructure or configure some of their trucks that are coming into the city so that we can move a little faster. As you guys were aware, we begged Crowder Golf and Thompson to allow our trucks to be certified so that we could jump in and help with the process. They're kind of amazed that a municipality would be so eager to help them. Usually they don't get that type of assistance. What we've tried to do is allow all of our equipment stay in the alley so we can minimize damage to properties and the water meters and stuff. It's a slow process because of the way we have to do this. One of the things is if a debris pile, vegetation is out there and somebody throws a garbage bag, piece of metal or plastic debris in there, it comes contaminated. They're not allowed to pick that up. So we're going to try and work out something to where we can get crews ahead of them to sort some of that. And we're going to concentrate more on that type of debris. They have set up a separate staging area for all of that. So we're probably going to shift our gears from vegetation management to the refrigerators, washers, dryers, couches, those
Garbage.
types of
Outsized.
things. And we've made one full pass. I think we've gone from Crane to Dove, Nightingale area, from Ludlam to Lenape. We've got almost the entire east end of town, from South Royal to Minola, from Oakwood to Morningside, picked up as far as the alleyways, and on the east end from East Drive to North South Royal, we've got all the streets picked up. So we've made a considerable amount of headway in just the short period of time that we've been doing this. And if it wasn't for all the process that we have to go through in the red tape, we'd probably be finished already. Okay.
And I'd like to make one little comment to what Tom said. I heard on the radio earlier this week, or last week, the director of solid waste for Miami-Dade County talk about when they expected Miami-Dade County and 10 municipalities that were under them, which we weren't one of them, to be cleared of debris. And his estimated date was, hold on to your seats, November 30th.
Well, there's a lot of
Oh,
municipalities that
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
There's a lot of municipalities that haven't even started debris removal yet. They haven't even started. I mean, we're already removing the debris in the trees. I mean, we're actually a lot farther than what people are actually seeing. It's amazing what we've done just in the few short weeks that we've started.
How's your ankle?
I'm doing good. I can feel my foot completely now.
Now you I saw you get up there pretty quick today.
Yeah, today's better.
And Mayor,
All right,
Mayor and
thanks.
Council, if I can just add one thing, that something that a lot of cities in Miami-Dade are experiencing, and Broward County as well, is that the way that Miami-Dade County procured its debris removal, they procured the contractors, but not the rate. And certainly then after the storm, after cities had pre-existing contracts with a lot of providers at $6, $8, $9 a cubic yard, Miami-Dade came back and issued a solicitation getting, I think, what was it, $14 or $15? $15 a cubic yard. And so what it did was it put a lot of pressure on existing contracts, because you had crews and subs flocking over to Miami-Dade County and leaving cities with less than desirable manpower and forecast. Fortunately for the city, Crowder Gulf was not one of those, and it wasn't affected by that. But I can tell you, cities from all the way down south, all the way into Broward, have been reeling, and that's going to be extending their pickup timeline as a result of it.
They didn't do a very good job of that. Okay, Councilwoman Zapata.
I don't have anything.
Councilman.
I just want to say something quick. Last week, I want to apologize to the police and to the chief, because we tend to take, or I guess I took the police for granted. I forgot to thank them for everything they did while we were doing all the events that were happening. The police was there. They're kind of on the side, so it's hard. It's easy to not see them, but they're there doing their job, and I want to thank them for keeping us safe the entire time for every event that we did. And I want to apologize to them for not acknowledging them last week. It seems like I thanked everybody except them, and I want to rectify my mistake this week, tonight.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
we got him. But that's good.
No,
Thank
I know William
We-
did,
we
but I
got
didn't
him.
do it.
I got him too.
Yeah.
I think Mayor got him. Councilman Best.
I got him.
You have anything else?
Well,
It's
yeah.
your turn.
I was commenting on on what you guys were talking
I said
about.
Councilman Best.
Yeah, okay.
Vice Mayor,
Thank
sir.
you. A couple things. Both are on considerations for one that we've asked for before and one that I'm going to request tonight. If you recall, after the Memorial Day ceremony, there was a gentleman who would come down here from Miami Lakes. I believe it was the son of a gentleman who served in the First World War, who was a pilot and lived in Miami Springs, by the name of Neffen. And we discussed back in the day that we would maybe review putting together some type of a plaque and having his son come down to offer to him on behalf of his father posthumously. Have we done anything with that at all?
I don't remember.
Mr. Neffen was his name, I believe.
Okay.
And the second one is to do with the unfortunate passing of Mayor Cavalier here recently. I guess most of us were all at his ceremony on Saturday, and I thought maybe that perhaps council and the administration would consider putting a plaque together for John on behalf of his service to the city, and maybe having Joan come to a meeting and give it to her here. Up to you guys.
Okay.
Just a thought. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few things. In reference to John Cavalier, I know we had a resident say the city hadn't done anything, but I know it's been on the website,
Yep.
his passing, and I know at the past meeting, we discussed the possibility of naming a street or something for him. So I just wanted to clarify with the residents that the city
And we
is
had the flags
acknowledging.
at half-mast.
Yes, and we had the
We did.
flags
He
at half
passed away.
mast, so we have been doing quite a bit. The other thing is, I wanted to make a mention with the stormwater that stormwater runoff. One way to minimize our stormwater runoff would be for us to incentivize or promote for residents who are building driveways to build pervious driveways where the water actually flows through the ground instead of asphalt or concrete, and also for commercial buildings when we're building parking lots to also build pervious ones rather than the typical traditional asphalt or concrete ones, and that would minimize our stormwater runoff. The other thing is I wanted to thank again our city employees and our residents for being amazing through this whole Hurricane Irma experience. And then I wanted to just mention, and I wanted to see if I could get the approval of our mayor and council on this. I think we all strongly believe that every crisis is a learning opportunity. And I know the city staff and the council probably have suggestions on how we can learn, lessons learned from this experience that we can use to for opportunities for enhancement for our emergency preparedness for the future. But I think residents do also. They might have suggestions of things that they think they noticed this time that they would like us to improve upon. So I'd like to ask for the city manager for a future meeting to bring forward a forum, some way for residents to submit suggestions on things that they noticed with this incident that they would like us to work on to improve for the future.
Okay, you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, wait, I'm going to set this up.
Before we close, I'd like to.
Okay, I'm going to set this up. So we want to go ahead and have, what Councilman Best is requesting is that to come up with for next council meeting on the agenda, where you're at with his plaque. Okay? Number two, we want to go ahead, I think, put an agenda item on what we might want to do for Mr. Cavalier. We can discuss it.
Timmy's got it.
Number three, she wants to go maybe over
Lessons learned.
a little bit, go over our contingency plan for the hurricanes before and after. Maybe we can talk about it. Now, I'm going to go what I want to do. I want to go ahead and have a legitimate, I've talked to a few of the people on the, not all at once, one-on-one. Talked to a few of the people on the Park and Parkway Board. I like, if council would participate, to have even maybe a special meeting or workshop meeting on putting together with the Park and Parkway boards, because they're very thing about a comprehensive plan on how we're going to do our tree planting and the tree ordinances of this city, so that we can go ahead and make sure, after talking to the FP&L CEO, Commissioner Sosa, she's going to go ahead and approach this with the county to go ahead and sit down and finally go over and have a comprehensive plan on what kind of trees we should plant, where we should plant them, and what kind of things we want to do, and put this together so that we can help us out in these hurricanes. So I would like to, after the August meeting, October, the meeting and first meeting in October, maybe after that, to have how does it work, council, if I have the Park and Parkway Board here at the same meeting with us?
We'll just notice it.
Okay.
Both ways.
I'd like to see if we can set up to have them here, the five of them here with us for a kickoff on some of the ideas of what we can do with our plans of how the trees, and if we got to think about with Mr. Nash, of course, the arborist of them all, to be here also, because he runs the city as far as that goes, the maintenance and everything, and to sit down and really, I've been trying to do this since 2003, and put all emotions aside and get a good program for the resident and for the city. What we gotta do under power lines and so on.
a workshop type meeting
Workshop
with
type
the
meeting,
Parks and
like a
Parkways.
kickoff, ideas from our Barton Parkway, us up here, and go forward, and from Mr. Nash.
And part of the consideration is going to be looking at our current tree codes to see what we need to change.
Right. As far as, like was brought up, was in backyards that abut power lines, they have a setback, not to plant right on your property line, up on the power line. Different things that we could talk about. I want to get into all of them, but different things, and what kind of trees that handle the storm, what kind of trees, whatever the resident wants to do, that's their prerogative. But some of the trees that the city has bought that, and they grow beautiful in 10 years, and you get a little storm or wind, and they're all gone. And maybe a better tree could have been there, especially that one tree that has a yellow bloom. They're all over the place. They went down on the ground everywhere. And they're an expensive tree, I believe. I don't remember. But
Tababuga?
Yeah,
Tababugas.
they just collapse. So is council willing to do something like that?
Sure.
Okay.
You can open it to the public, Mayor, correct?
Yeah, this is gonna be, it could be correspond with what she's, but what Council Mitchell is saying is there's things that can be tweaked, but the major issue in this city was the fact that the debris you're picking up from the trees, and I want everybody to understand a lot of these trees that are standing they're dead.
Yeah, or
Just
will be.
about dead. And what I'm trying to get at, and I'll express it all at the meeting. I can go on and on, but I'll express it. I want to say that it was a beautiful thing they did the service for Mayor Cavalier and the Women's Club. The food was to die for. And we had a great time over there with all the people. I want to say tonight, I believe Miami Springs had their first swim meet. Contrary to the people that said we couldn't have swim team, or first swim meet tonight from the Springs. Maybe I can't say it's between 8 to 4 years they haven't had it.
Wow.
So that first time, and
before
gotta remember one thing. You know, Miami Springs is supposed to be the most giving and friendly people in the world. We got to start promoting to fill that container up to go down to Key West.
Yeah.
I mean, where's our city at to fill that container? Where's all your friends?
How do people know about it?
Well, we said it last on council. It's going in the paper. It's right there at the rec center.
Is it online?
We put it on our website.
Yeah.
It's on the website.
I mean,
Yeah, but we don't.
I think we should fill it up.
I think there's so much going on now with Mexico and Puerto Rico and the Keys that,
But if that's the excuse, then that's the excuse. But we should be able to. There's 14,000 of us. Just one piece item from every one could help fill that container to help the people in the United States. That's it?
No.
Oh, that's right. He had something else too?
I just wanted on Councilwoman Mitchell's idea about having an after-action maybe workshop or something where we invite residents in and just go through what we've learned from this storm, what we think we can do better for next time, because we started making notes on things that we're going to need.
Right, as I said, we'll combine it. We'll get the tree situation as part of the issue, but have them in here, and then you can present.
Have both of them combined as a workshop.
It's all kind of a whole thing.
That'd be good.
All right.
All right.
And one more thing, I think, reminder about Thursday's meeting.
What's that?
Thursday's
meeting, yeah.
Just a reminder.
Oh, reminder of Thursday's special meeting.
7 o'clock.
What's so special about it?
Well, it's out of the order.
That's for the
Should be
police.
for the police. It should be a quick meeting.
I don't know how you folks feel about this, you four. I've been thinking about this for a long time. You know how we bring the students from different schools to do the Pledge of Allegiance? I think we should extend this invitation to different religious leaders to come out and do the invocation. They all get a chance. If 1 week they can't make it, then we'll go back to the way we used to, like was the mayor's turn tonight, then it would be Councilwoman Zapata, then mine, unless they can't make it. But if they can't make it, why don't we invite them to come out from all different denominations? Is that something we would want to do? Or?
That's a good idea.
Thank you, sir.
That would have to be the clerk to do the notification.
But I wanted to see if you guys folks.
That's a good idea.
Some NFL players.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
This meeting's adjourned.
This time, I